Hello, I'm back. I apologize for not posting my PowerPoints sooner. Time got away from me, as I'm sure it has with you guys, but I'm back. So, we'll be talking about intimate relationships tonight, which coincides with Chapter 10 in your textbook. We'll start with defining what intimacy is. Then we'll talk about love, which coincides with your reflection assignment, attraction, chemistry, and then we'll end with compatibility. So what is intimacy? How do you define it? Basically, it refers to being close with somebody in the physical sense, emotional, intellectual, social, and spiritual sense. And so it encompasses 5 different domains. It's not just about a physical connection, which is typically how being intimate, that phrase, has been used. Measuring intimacy, so how do researchers do that? Most of the time they'll ask questions like this. I'll read some examples. My partner listens to me when I need someone to talk to. My partner really understands my hurts and joys. How often do you confide very personal information to your partner? How often are you able to understand his or her feelings? How often do you feel close to him or her? And how important is your relationship with him and her in your life? So that gives you an idea of how researchers would measure it, so you have a better understanding of what exactly it is. One of the most popular theories about love is Sternberg's theory of love, which is in your textbook. And Sternberg basically proposed that there are 3 components or 3 domains to love. There's the intimacy domain, the passion domain, and the commitment. And that the ideal form of love would include all of these, but that realistically there are 7 possible combinations, and most of them are not the ideal form of love. So to Sternberg, intimacy meant feelings that promote closeness and connectedness. Passion was defined as romance, physical attraction, and sexual attraction. And then commitment referred to maintaining love over time. So the first type of love is called liking, and this one includes intimacy only. And Sternberg said that this defines true friendships. We feel bonded, but there's no passion or long-term commitment. The second type of love is called infatuated love. And again, this is only one domain, which is passion. So he defines this as like examples of love at first sight. And he says that this type of love can disappear suddenly. The third type is called empty love. And this also contains only one domain, which is commitment. So he says that sometimes a stronger love can turn into empty love over time. The commitment remains, but passion and intimacy fade away or go away completely. Then there is romantic love. This actually has 2 domains. It includes intimacy and passion, but not commitment. So Sternberg said that couples with romantic love are bonded through passionate arousal. And then fatuous love, number 5, includes passion and commitment, but not intimacy. And he said this is like whirlwind courtships, marriage where commitment is motivated by passion, but not intimacy. Then there's companionate love, which is combined of intimacy and commitment. And Sternberg said you find this in marriages over the long term. It's not unusual for passion to fade, but intimacy and commitment don't. He actually referred to this type of love as a deep affection. And then the ideal love, consummate love, contains all 3. He says many people strive for this, but very few actually achieve it. And even if it is achieved, maintaining it over the long term is difficult because lots of love, or most forms of love, turn to companionate love over time. And so here is the graphic I was talking about that shows you the different types of combinations. And again, you'll see that in the middle, you've got this ideal or consummate love. And then each of these on the ends, or the points of the triangle, talk about one domain, and then you've got the combinations along the side. I think that what's important about Sternberg's theory is to recognize that it's one of the most common theories about love, and that it is unrealistic to expect to have intimacy, passion, and commitment all the time, forever. And in fact, some theorists today point out that couples can move in and out of these types of love. And so there may be times when they only feel passion or infatuation. There may be times when they only feel commitment. There may be times when they have a combination of that. And that it's not unusual to change over time. And that's unrealistic to expect to stay in one place over time. Okay, so the research about attraction, what I want to point out is that there are sex differences when it comes to attraction. Males place more emphasis on physical attractiveness. Females place more emphasis on interpersonal warmth, personality, and earning potential. Probably part of the theory of, I am so sorry, I'm forgetting what it's called now. Darwin's theory of evolution, sorry. So earning potential will be tied into how well a male could maintain a family. Byrne's theory of attraction is based upon rewards and punishments. And we've talked about this before, rewards and punishments, when we talked about sexual orientation and some theories about how that develops. Theories about rewards and punishments do originate from psychology. And the basic idea for Byrne is that we're attracted to people that make us feel good about ourselves. But we dislike people, and we're not attracted to people who punish us or are nasty to us, not nice to us. So we're drawn to people that make us feel good. That's our reward. However, research shows that people like others that are similar to them. And research supports this through over time. Studies that look at couples over time show that relationships develop and function better when couples get along with their partners and share similar attitudes. And so, of course, that's flying directly in the face of opposites attract. But what Byrne, what Sternberg, and what other theorists would say is that, yes, opposites can be attracted to each other initially. Byrne would say because they make each other feel good about themselves. And then Sternberg would say that's just a type of love. But that commitment comes from sharing similar attitudes. So, yes, opposites can attract, but it's much more difficult for them to maintain love over time. Okay, so sexual chemistry. This area is focused primarily on pheromones and the sexual scent of attraction. So Martha McClintock at the University of Chicago did this famous study where she exposed a group of women to other women's perspiration. And that was it. They weren't interacting with one another. They weren't seeing each other. They weren't living together, etc. They were just exposed to another woman's perspiration. And after a while, women's cycles did coincide with the other woman they were matched up with, whose perspiration they were smelling. So just goes to show you the power of pheromones and how it can affect the chemistry within our bodies. And body chemicals also are tied to attracting potential sexual partners. We actually smell the best to a person whose genetically based immunity to disease differs most from our own. I know that sounds strange. It sounded strange to me too. But if you think about the theory of evolution and how scientists propose that this helps people to make for stronger, healthier children, this would make sense. So we smell best to a person whose genetically based immunity to disease differs most from our own. That would be, increase the chances of at least one parent being around to raise stronger, healthier children. And also would decrease the chances that some type of genetically engineered disease, or not engineered, genetic disease would be passed down to children. So, interesting fact. Then there's this idea of the romantic high. Many couples describe this, especially when they first meet their partners. And this actually can be explained through chemistry as well. So, 74% of people exposed to a commercial pheromone called althena, developed by a man named Cutler, experienced an increase in hugging, kissing, and sexual intercourse. So there is this sort of high that does go through our bodies and makes us feel like we are on top of the world. We first fall in love. And it is a chemical reaction. It's not imagined. It's not in someone's head. And I always like to think of it as Justin Timberlake's song, Love Stoned, where when people do fall in love, they do sort of walk around like they're stoned all the time. They miss details and can't concentrate. They just think about their partner and how they can be with that partner as soon as possible. So this is explained by chemistry. But again, we come back to compatibility. So there's actually a compatibility list on page 305 of your textbook if you wanted to kind of take that test. But it's important to note that over time, it's compatibility that affects the success of our relationships. So we are drawn to other people that share our values, beliefs, attitudes, lifestyles, etc. And it's important to note, though, that you don't want to blend into a potential partner and just take on their characteristics. That would not be characterized as a healthy relationship. So researchers do point out that a healthy relationship is characterized by people still being able to be themselves and maintain their identity without their partners trying to change them or without themselves trying to change them in any way. And I refer you to the equality wheel. When we talk about sexual coercion, we'll talk about the power and control wheel. This is kind of its opposite, the equality wheel. It just goes over the types of things that are common to equal, healthy relationships. So you've got negotiation and fairness, non-threatening behavior, respect, trust, support, honesty and accountability. If there are children, responsible parenting, shared responsibility, and economic partnership. It doesn't necessarily mean that both partners work, but they benefit from the financial arrangements in that relationship. So this is what healthy relationships should look like. And this is really important to share with adolescents who experience puberty and are starting to find that they are attracted to members of the same or opposite sex. Regardless of their sexual attraction, they should understand what a healthy relationship looks like. This is particularly important if their parental relationship was violent in any way or unequal, any power and control was being exerted from one partner over the other. They oftentimes will model their own relationships after what they've witnessed. And that doesn't mean that can't be undone. It's not such a powerful predictor that it can't be overturned. But they need to understand, or adolescents need to understand, what does constitute an equal relationship? What does that look like? So that concludes the lecture on this chapter. I'll hope that you guys get a lot out of it. And notice that I did move the test 1 week. And I will be putting up sexual dysfunction lecture as well. Thank you.